Carmen Cuba, casting director for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The show was first announced 3 years ago, and casting directors are often like the first people involved with the project. So, what is it like for you to finally have the show out in the world after such a long time?
It's exciting, of course, to see our work. And also, a lot of times it's the first time we see it. I see dailies in many cases, but in this one, I think everything was so busy that really seeing it at the same time as everyone else was my experience. And it was really exciting. It came out, the vision of it matched um how it landed on screen, so it was very exciting.
Mhm. Well, the show also underwent a big casting change because Phoebe Waller-Bridge was originally Jane Smith, and she left the show. So when you get the news that we need to do a recast for one of the leads, like what is that conversation like, and what do you discuss? Like, do you look for someone who is, not like Phoebe Waller-Bridge because we have Maya Erskine in the role now?
Yeah, actually for me, in any time I'm casting, if I have an idea and that idea doesn't pan out, I'm just realizing this about myself recently, actually. I just go for another big idea. I don't really stay in the same space as what that original idea was, because in a way it feels like then you're going to sort of a second tier version of that, and I prefer to just sort of come at it fresh with something exciting that sort of turns it on its head and creates its own new thing. And
Mhm.
with Maya, I mean, I'd been a huge fan of hers, her work on Pen 15. I think it's just brilliant. And from that, when I was casting Obi-Wan, I thought she should be a Jedi. And I could not believe that she said yes or had time or,
I mean,
you
well, who would say no to being a Jedi?
I mean, some people might think it's nuts, but also she had just had a baby. So
Mhm.
I did not think timing would, any of it would work out, but it did. And so then she was in my sort of world in that way. And so I just thought she was the first one that came to mind for me. And then it turns out that various people on the creative team were all sort of thinking about her at the same time. So it was kismet. Great.
What do you think it is about her that everyone was like kind of on the same page, like with like Francesca Sloane, like
Yeah.
Cameron and Donald Glover, probably.
I think that it's just that she's singular and that you could imagine a version of her opposite Donald that could be, you know, the word that comes to mind is unpredictable.
Hmm.
Because Donald is also unpredictable and not necessarily in an improv kind of way, but sort of improving energetically, if that makes sense. As well as improv. I mean, the two of them, watching the two of them on set, just going on and on, even after the scene is done, they sort of would stay in it and just keep bantering. And, obviously that's high level comedy and actually chemistry. Like it was really also unexpected, I think.
Yeah, I think when her casting was announced, like a lot of the reaction was like, huh, but then it was like, actually that sounds interesting and it does work. Like when you see them on screen playing off of each
Mhm.
other, it's like I don't think it's like an obvious choice, which goes back to you like, what
Yeah.
you were saying before about taking a big swing in like another direction.
Yeah,
Um,
and also I think what was interesting, which I don't think we really thought about or talked about, is the idea that they also have to not have chemistry.
mhm.
These characters have chemistry. It's like the push and pull of it.
Yeah,
You
because
really
they're
need to feel
strangers and
that.
like they're forced
So
into this.
yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, so it's funny because when I imagine any other version, like you can't predict this couple, and
mhm.
that's very exciting to me.
Yeah. Well, the show also has a very impressive and loaded guest cast. You have Alexander Skarsgård, like Ron Perlman, Sarah Paulson, Parker Posey, Wagner Moura, Michaela Cole, Sharon Horgan, Paul Dano, could go on and on. So, how did this come about? Like, which ones of these were written with someone in mind and which weren't? I know, like, I think, like, Donald's friends with Michaela, right? So that was kind of like an easy in, but which ones were these where you had to, like, think of people to cast?
Well, first off, we never thought of them as guest stars. We thought of them as the stars within each episode, which was meant to feel like a short film.
Mhm.
And that's also how we pitched it. And agents were very excited, actors were very excited. Who did we have my list here of who? Nobody was. It wasn't really written for anyone. Michaela, he definitely was excited to find something for. So, and you know, she's usually focused on her own writing. So again, it was like tricky scheduling. We were just sort of hoping she would say yes, and this part was there. So we never looked for that or sort of had to come up with ideas, but really all of them. We spent a lot of time thinking about all of them, but it was really like being in a sandbox with your favorite toys and just kind of going like, who of our favorites? You know, I'm close to Donald and a lot of this team, and so like I've known that he has had an actor crush on Parker Posey for years. So I've been looking for a place to put them together, and this was perfect. And again, an unexpected choice
Mhm.
for particularly for that character. And Wagner Mora, I'd worked on Narcos with, and I knew of his transformation on that show. He's like, you know, he gained all this weight and he learned Spanish, and the way he looks on Narcos is not at all how he looks in real life. So the opportunity to show him as his, you know, gorgeous, sexy version of himself was really made sense. And again, that coupling, I think the show is obviously about marriage and couples. And for us, it was most exciting to sort of put together these people that just slightly wouldn't be predictable and don't necessarily make
Yeah.
sense, even
But
those
then
two
once you see them
couple.
on screen and the dynamic, it does make sense.
Yeah. And it also, to me, created this energy of the conversation around marriage being like weird and uncomfortable and like, how do we end
Yeah,
up
because I guess like we
together?
all like people are just like, oh, like he's with her or she's with him. And it's like, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Um,
trying to think what other
well,
um
I know
yeah.
one thing I love about like these stars of their own episodes is like it also some of them also subvert expectations, like Ron Perlman, who I know is Francesca's father-in-law, but he's
Mhm.
playing a giant baby, which is just a metaphor for John and Jane having a kid instead of like a typical
Yeah.
badass. And then
Yeah.
Paul Dano is the hot neighbor, and you might think of someone more like conventionally like
Yeah.
six-pack abs attractive, but it's like it's about like who Jane finds attractive, and
Yeah.
it's Paul
And
Dano.
yeah, and also just again the Donald Glover world and what the translations of all of those words. We definitely talked about what does hot mean, and what's hot to women and what's hot to men. And you're right, like there was a big conversation about like, should this be the traditional six-pack guy? And I'm so happy we landed with Paul because he's so brilliant. And
Paul Dano
again,
is hot, so
yeah, he
yeah.
is. And the our audience is would think he's hot. You know, someone else's audience would find, you know, the sort of more traditional actor right for that role. But for us, we were like, yeah, this is hot.
Yeah, he is. He's hot neighbor. I love how some of them don't even have names. It's like Sarah Paulson, therapist.
Yeah. Which can sometimes be tricky, you know, because sometimes actors like want a name and they associate that with their part being more important or something, but I think everyone was really on board with what we were trying to do, and the writing obviously it all for me it always starts with the writing. Um the writing was just there and so fun for people to play, so they were down for anything.
Mhm. Well, one of the breakout stars of the season is Donald Glover's mom, Beverly, who
I
plays
was
his mom
hoping
on the
that's who you
show.
thought was one of the breakouts.
Yeah, she is a complete natural. So, did he
She's
just
a
come up and he
real
was like, we
natural.
don't need to cast as my mom will do it"? How did that happen?
No, I have
Oh,
known
you suggested
Beverly.
it.
I've
Okay.
known Beverly for a long time, and I don't know if Donald was thinking about it, but I was like, "There's no way it is going to be anyone other than her." I didn't know if we could convince her, but it didn't. It she was game. That whole family, you know, they are performers just as themselves, and she is very witty, and she's, you see, she's brilliant. I'm
Yeah.
now trying to get her to do other things, and she's like, just hold on.
Does she have an agent yet? Is she signing or like, come on.
No, trust me, I'm slowly gonna lead her down the
Well,
path.
we need a season 2 and we need more of Beverly as Denise in season
We
2.
do need more.
Yeah.
And Michaela's character is named Beverly, by the way.
Yes, I did notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, who is playing his mom? I was like, oh, it's his actual mom.
It's his actual mom. And I was also part of what empowered me with that idea, even to bring it up, was that Maya's mom played her mom on Pen
Oh yeah,
15.
in Pen 15. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Maya's mom's amazing and just like very able to be herself. And there's no doubt when you meet Beverly that she will be able to be herself in any.
We love Nepo parents. So
Love it.
yeah.
Family
Well,
business is what
it's
it is.
true.
That's right.
Well, Carmen, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank
You
you.
could stay on because
Okay.
everyone's coming back.
Thank you.